Look, I'm as big a John Jones fan as anybody, and I've always defended he's not afraid of Tom. He's willing to fight anybody. It's hard to not fall into that narrative here, though. You know, like, to me, like, fighting in the White House, like, that doesn't do it. But maybe I'm a different person. You know, maybe everybody looks at it different. For me, like, if you tell me they're going to have a fight at the White House, like, cool. All right. Like, it'd be cool to do it. If not, whatever. Like, a fight's a fight.
I do believe that I'm the best heavyweight in the world. It doesn't mean I can stop and celebrate what I've done. I've got a lot of work to do. I want to be as active as possible moving forward as well. So I'm not just working for the next fight, I'm working for the next 5 fights. And I have been doing that last year.
The rise of Tom Aspinall to the top of the UFC heavyweight class was amazing, dominant, and well-earned. He does say, though, that it seemed unfinished. After defeating Sergey Pavlovich to earn the interim title and defending it against Curtis Blades, Aspinall looked every bit the champion. But Jon Jones cast a shadow over every act. Aspinall has never proved it wrong. Says, I would have rather taken it from Jon Jones, the undisputed champion. Jones did not celebrate when the UFC officially took away his title and named Aspinall the new king. Rather than being scary, he said it felt good. There wasn't a defining event, a coming together, or a famous win over the current great. He felt something wrong about the belt that was just given to him.
Say, no, you're not going to take this. And do you know what Jon Jones did? You have it. I don't want to fight. You can have it. This is unbelievable. The greatest of all time. What a load of shit. I'm sorry. Never going to call that him the GOAT. Ever again. Because being the greatest of all time is not just about winning. And that's what Jon Jones doesn't understand. It's about how you conduct yourself throughout the whole of your career. Are you willing to fight the biggest challenges, the biggest tests, go in there?
Now Jon Jones is back. After a few days of quiet and a public retirement in June, the former champion rejoined the USADA testing pool, indicating a possible return in 2026. It's not enough for just any return. Jones is reportedly being prepared for a confrontation in the White House. Yes, the White House is participating in a UFC card being prepared for Independence Day, July 4th. With the help of former President Donald Trump and Dana White. The idea sounds bizarre, but the fight possibilities are serious. Michael Bisping publicly suggested Jones versus Aspinall as the card's main event. Jones spotted the proposal and replied with a 3-word message: I like it.
See, White House is crazy, dude. How's that even a thing? Is that allowed? Like, how is Donald even allowed to do that? Be kind of gangster, though. Chandler versus McGregor. Be kind of gangster. Aspinall. Jon Jones wants to fight on it. Classic. Back in the testing pool after 2 weeks. Bro is a troll and a half. He's not having his title back. That just can't be happening. All the ground trip.
That alone would have caused shockwaves, but Jones didn't stop there. He made a direct threatening communication to Aspinall. I will make you beg within the octagon. The comments seemed like a deliberate warning. Jones shown real public interest in Aspinall for the first time in months. Just as the Brit had finally moved on, Aspinall has stated clearly that becoming uncontested was not the fairy tale ending he stated in an interview with Adam Catterall that it seemed more like closure than success. I felt I was a winner anyway. I understand I was the interim winner, but I didn't feel relieved, right? That's finished. I can fight again, don't get me wrong. It's fantastic to be the unquestioned winner. I would have liked to take it from Jon Jones, the clear champion, though.
He's like the longest running heavyweight champion in the history of the UFC, isn't he? But he's only like he hasn't fought anyone. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, you know. I think Jon gets a lot of money for being champion. I think the sponsors and that are paying him a fortune, and I think he's just dragging along, keeping the belt as long as possible because it's worth that much money to him. I mean, Jon's often struggled with tall people who are good boxers. I imagine he probably, if he did fight him,
It wasn't all talk. Aspinall had pursued the fight strongly. He stepped in on short notice to fight Pavlovich when Jones withdrew from his planned fight with Miocic due to injury in late 2023. He dispatched the dangerous Russian striker with ease before protecting the interim belt dominantly. Every move he made was meant to unite the titles. But Jones did not reciprocate. After eventually returning and defeating Stipe Miocic, Jones seems uninterested in fighting Aspinall. Negotiations dragged on. Dana White offered ambiguous promises. The fight never developed.
You're a sprinter and you take PEDs. You become faster than people who are not taking PEDs and you win a race. That's okay. You're a cheat, you've won, they'll take your title off you or whatever. That's fine. If your job is to hurt another person, physically hurt another person, which could potentially redirect the rest of their life post-fighting, you're an absolute piece of shit and you should never be able to fight again if you have any PED.
Then came Jones' sudden exit last month. There was no fight, no announcement. Just a quiet exit followed by a formal title handover to Aspinall. During a news conference in Baku, the fan suffered a loss. It was a disappointment for Aspinall, and it looked to be the end of the road for Jones. The timing of Jones' comeback has caused controversy. Matt Brown, a UFC veteran, seems strangely convenient. Brown openly stated that Jones appeared to be ducking, suggesting that he waited until Aspinall signed his next fight before suddenly becoming active. Again, that critique mirrors fan sentiment on forums and social media. One post summed it up well: Jones' retirement is another battle. It's convenient, to say the least.
It's John Jones. I'll be honest, Tom's a friend. I love Tom. He's one of the coolest dudes in the whole of MMA. Even though Jones is getting old, I just can't pick against John Jones. I've been watching John Jones, as I say.
That is the part that has many people wondering Jones' motives. If he truly wanted to fight Aspinall, he had options. The UFC brass was open to it. Aspinall was more than ready. However, now that the Brit has moved on to other names such as Cyril Gane, Alexander Volkov, and possibly Derek Lewis following the upcoming Nashville event, Jones has resurfaced, dropping threats and intriguing White House fight cards.
Star Aspinall would have been if we just would have got that fight over with right away. Think of the star Ngannou still would have been for this company if you just would have had that fight and moved it on. And then you have an epic rivalry between those two, Aspinall and Ngannou. Like, the years and years of amazing heavyweight fights could have been happening if John Jones just wasn't a petulant child, and if the UFC wasn't just the, oh no, it's fine, he's just finding himself, like, just so annoying. And
yet the dynamic has changed. Aspinall is no longer the interim figure seeking recognition. He's the one holding the belt. Jones, for the first time in more than a decade, is outside the cage, trying to claw back in. He must pass drug testing processes, recover full eligibility, and convince the UFC to match him with the opponent he has previously avoided. The story is flipped. Aspinall no longer needs Jones to certify his championship, at least not formally. But the reality is more tough to ignore. Both fighters still have unfinished business with one another.
Is there a fighter in MMA or the UFC that you just find absolutely insufferable? Because for me, it's John Jones, and there is no close second. John Jones defended his heavyweight title against a retired 42-year-old Stipe Miocic back in November. Ever since then, John has been saying, what has Tom Aspinall done to deserve to fight me? You know, besides Tom being the interim champ and having a defense with that belt, John has just found every possible way to not fight Tom, even
John Jones is definitely one of the most dominant fighters in MMA history. However, the events of the previous year have had an effect on his legacy. Many say that by quitting without facing Aspinall, he missed the final test of his heavyweight career. Some wonder if he was ever truly eager in defending his title against a young, prime athletic champion with momentum. Others say it was purely a timing problem. Injuries, negotiations, and business choices all occur in an unfavorable order. In any case, it is generally assumed that Jones avoided the one guy capable of defeating him.
Is there a fighter in MMA or the UFC that you just find absolutely insufferable? Because for me, it's John Jones, and there is no close second. John Jones defended his heavyweight title against a retired 42-year-old Stipe Miocic back in November. Ever since then, John has been saying, what has Tom Aspinall done to deserve to fight me? You know, besides Tom being the interim champ and having a defense with that belt, John has just found every possible way to not fight Tom, even retire.
The White House event is now being pushed as a historic UFC showcase, putting the pieces back in action. According to Dana White and Donald Trump, Aspinall is toward the top of both wish lists. There is no information yet on contracts, deadlines, or formal announcements, but public teasing has started. Fans saw Jones's subtle approbation when he replied to a poster advertising the proposed fight with, "I like it." He hadn't said anything else before delivering the real word: "I will make you beg within the octagon."
I'll just come out and ask you, do you think he's ducking Tom Aspinall?
No. John Jones, I said it a million times, I'll say it again, he's never ducked anybody other than that one goofy time with the Chael Sonnen thing. He's never ducked anybody. And, I think the reality is, whatever changed his mind with this fight, I don't know, you'd have to ask him that, but, he's 38 years old, and I don't know.
Do you think if it was someone like Alex Pereira, he would fight them? And it's maybe Tom that he specifically doesn't fancy the matchup, doesn't fancy the age difference?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to these questions. Only he does. We had the fight done. Listen, our job is to make the biggest fights we can make and the fights that the fans want to see. And that's what we try to do. But the minute somebody starts talking about retirement, you know my philosophy on that, you should do it.
Whether it was boldness or bait, it started conversation. Aspinall has not commented directly, but he has made his thoughts about the rivalry clear for months. He never saw beating Jones as a way to build a legacy. It was to show something to himself. The indisputable title means less when you didn't earn it by beating the guy who already had it, Aspinall told himself. I thought I was a winner regardless. What he wanted was a true ending, a true passing of the torch, and a genuine conflict. That chance may be available again. Jones has returned to the testing pool and is considering a comeback in 2026. So there is plenty of time to properly plan the fight.
Think of the star Aspinall would have been if we just would have got that fight over with right away. Think of the star Ngannou still would have been for this company if you just would have had that fight and moved it on. And then you have an epic rivalry between those two, Aspinall and Ngannou. Like the years and years of amazing heavyweight fights could have been happening if Jon Jones just wasn't a petulant child, and if the UFC wasn't just the, oh no, it's fine, he's just finding himself. Like, just so annoying and so...
In the interim, Aspinall is expecting to defend his belt against someone else. Cyril Gane remains the most likely candidate, but the White House card would provide the best platform. For Jones' return, Trump's engagement will draw major political attention. Equal sign. Dana White will argue for fireworks, and Jones versus Aspinall, with their unfinished business, has all the makings of a historic event.
Since the fight will never happen, gun to my head, I would have said Jon Jones will beat him right now. Tom has never been pushed into those championship rounds. That first time you feel that, I gotta get up off that stool after the third round. You needed to fight Tom now, when he doesn't have that experience, especially as Jon Jones.
Until contracts are signed, it is only theory, but the timing, testing, and threats all point in the same way. After leaving the division and failing to provide Aspinall with the deserved crowning fight, Jon Jones is now the one wanting attention. He's doing it through fan art, pithy statements, and unsettling themes, and this time, Aspinall already has the belt. Leon Edwards is getting strong criticism from UK fight fans after speaking on the much-discussed hypothetical battle between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall.
Why is that fight not happening? Well, it could be for two reasons. It's either that Jon Jones is using a strategy to have more money.
You could say it, GSP. Go for it. Come on, say what you want to say.
But I think that's why he's doing it. You know, if he's doing it just to hold the title, to serve the wave, this is not. And if he has no intention of coming back, that's not right. You know. But if he does it for as a strategy to have more money, I can understand why. But I think that the UFC needs to do something to get.
The welterweight champion recently appeared alongside British boxing icon Carl Froch at the EBA Pro 7 event in Istanbul, Turkey, where he was asked directly who would win in a prime versus prime scenario between the UFC's long-reigning light heavyweight king and England's current heavyweight champion. Edwards answered without doubt, "Prime, I'm going with Jon Jones. Yeah, 100%. He went on to say, "I highly suggest Jon Jones. I believe he is the best to have done it."
But what did you make of it when you heard Jon calling out Alex of all people?
You know, I think he does do this because, you know, Alex Perez now he's like big star in the UFC, you know, everybody loves him, so he know what he's doing, you know, but I believe he should to fight against Aspinall, but I think he a little bit afraid of him, you know, because Aspinall is someone who can really stop him and beat him.
Yeah,
I mean, but that's what I think that he believes if he can, you know.
Despite the favor to Jones, Edwards noted that things would be different in a current game with Aspinall, who is likely at his physical and technical prime. Tom will work for the time being. He is the guy now, Edwards stated. He explained that Aspinall's speed, movement, and knockout power would pose major challenges for Jones if they fought today. With his speed and strength, and the way he moves in there, I think he would have caused difficulties for Jon Jones. It could have been a nice fight. But it wasn't simply Edwards' praise for Jones that caused outrage. Jon Jones avoided fighting Aspinall because he dismissed the growing sentiment. Edwards claimed unequivocally he definitely did not duck the fight with Aspinall. That comment, in particular, enraged British MMA fans, many of whom have been outspoken in their belief that Jones had chances to fight Aspinall, but purposefully avoided them.
It's the legacy. To be able to go to the heavyweight division, take out everyone, and then take out the Jon Jones legend, you know, and then go back to even beating a few of these new school guys, will literally put Tom Aspinall as the GOAT of the heavyweight division.
A clip of Edwards' interview soon spread online. UFC fans from the United Kingdom, especially those who favor Tom Aspinall, left scathing comments. "Leon, you little traitor," one fan remarked. Another joined in, "Disloyal bum." Dozens of comments criticized Edwards of backing an American boxer over a fellow Brit. One fan stated that as Britons, we no longer claim him. "Wow, Leon, you are a low-key criminal. WTF, Leon's a bum," someone other wrote. "Leon hasn't a clue about fighting," said another upset commenter.
Not wanting to fight, you think, or do you think it's a combination?
Well, I can tell you some stuff about the money situation, but I'm not sure I can say it on camera, so I will tell you that after. I think I think I'm a bad matchup for him, to be honest. And I think he knows it.
My opinion, I think it's a huge risk.
Yeah.
It's a huge risk. You're younger, you're athletic, you hit hard, you pose problems. We don't have much data on you.
The indignation shows how strongly fans are supporting Aspinall at the moment. The heavyweight champion has not only become a symbol of British MMA pride, but he is also generally regarded as the rightful heir to Jones' heavyweight title. When Jon Jones announced his retirement in June 2025, the UFC promoted Aspinall from interim to undisputed king.
I would even say this, and I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I would say that Jon Jones ducked Tom Aspinall so hard that he went through self-destructive measures just to avoid a fight with this man. That's how good Tom Aspinall is, and everyone you're gonna list off is gonna get beat.
Well, we'll see.
But Aspinall admitted that the moment was incomplete. Without a clash with Jones, says, "I would have rather taken it from Jon Jones." The undisputed champion. Aspinall's meteoric rise began when he stepped in on short notice to fight Sergey Pavlovich. When Jones withdrew from a planned fight against Stipe Miocic in late 2023 due to injuries, Aspinall knocked off Pavlovich in the first round before defending the brief title against Curtis Blades. Fans and experts expected a unification fight with Jones, but it never happened. After finally defeating Miocic, Jones went silent. And despite UFC President Dana White promoting a bout, nothing occurred. Then came the unimpressive statement, Jon Jones was leaving. Just weeks later, Jones has re-entered the USADA testing pool, making him eligible to participate again in 2026. The comeback coincides with a suspected UFC event planned for July 4th at the White House, which is supported by Donald Trump and Dana White. Jones reacted warmly to fan-made posters foreshadowing a fight with Aspinall at the White House, saying, "I like it." He followed up with a scary warning, "I'll make you beg inside the cage."
Donald Trump just said that he wants to hold a UFC event at the White House next year for America's 250th birthday. And not just any UFC event, he wants to hold a championship UFC event at the White House next year. And this got me thinking, what a perfect time for Jon Jones to come out of retirement and fight Tom Aspinall at the White House next year for America's 250th birthday. What is more patriotic, what is more American than the...
Jones' contradictory messages have confused and upset many fans and fighters. Michael Bisping, a fellow British fighter and former UFC champion, went into detail about the event. "I'm not sure if Jon is having a laugh, being funny, taking the piss, or being serious," Bisping noted. He suggested that the White House announcement could have been the motivation. Of course, Trump is discussing a fight in the White House. Perhaps that's it. I don't think it's that. I think he would love to fight at the White House, as I am sure every combatant will.
What do you make of Tom Aspinall and all the things that he's been saying about you?
I think he should go on and have a wonderful career.
Do you think that he needs you?
No, I think he needs me. When you want something bad enough, and if you get it, it could be the worst thing that could ever happen to you. I love being the ultimate troll. He's just not. He's not in a position to excite me. Because if I whoop his ass, it's going to be the next guy. There's going to be a whole new fan base of somebody who everybody believes in.
Bisping also stressed how important the Jones-Aspinall battle would be. Of all, it's him versus Tom Aspinall, England versus the United States. 1776 all over again at the White House. Unbelievable, of course. That should be the primary goal. Correct, he stated, but even Bisping wasn't sure if Jones was actually planning for a comeback or just testing the waters. Is that actually what's happening? Is it merely the fact that they'll be at the White House, or has something changed? The fact that he has re-entered the testing pool shows that he is not playing around.
Retire John Jones without even fighting him. He said that nearly a year ago today. Tom Aspinall said those words. And never have words aged better in the MMA world than Tom Aspinall saying that about.
The timing of Jones's comeback attempt has added to the idea that he is avoiding a frontal. Challenged by Aspinall, Matt Brown, a UFC veteran, said that it looked like ducking. Given that Jones only returned after Aspinall had already moved on and started arranging his next title defense, many fans agree, pointing out how Jones looked to put off any confrontation with Aspinall until it was too late. Leon Edwards' defense of Jones did not work well in that setting, even while his statements recognized Aspinall's skill and present domination. Many saw his admiration for Jones and dismissal of the ducking story as betrayal. In the UK MMA scene, where fighters like Aspinall symbolize a new age of British success, siding with Jones, especially amid charges of avoiding a bout, elicited strong reactions.
That'll never happen. Gun to my head, I would have said John Jones will beat him right now. Tom has never been pushed into those championship rounds. That first time you feel that, I gotta get up off that stool after the third round. You needed to fight Tom now when he doesn't have that experience, especially as John Jones.
The Fury also shows how seriously British supporters take Aspinall's status as champion. He isn't merely a belt holder. To many, he represents untapped promise, a title reign that might go for years, and a warrior who did not take shortcuts to get where he is today. The fact that Jones ducked Aspinall has consequences beyond the game. It feels like a repudiation of Aspinall's authority. And when one of Britain's most well-known champions looks to unwaveringly support Jones, the fan base automatically reacts defensively. So what do you think? Please share your ideas below and subscribe for future updates.